everyone, welcome to our story time. Do you want to read the story with Fair is Fair by Sonny Varela, illustrated by Peter Moore. Zookeeper loved all of her animals, but she was especially fond of hare, giraffe, and elephant. She fed them herself every day. She gave hare a handful of food, she gave giraffe a wheelbarrow full, and she gave elephant a whole truck load. They were all healthy and happy because each day they had just enough. One day, they were lounging under a giant shade tree. Each was speaking about how much Zookeeper must love them. Hare bragged, "Did you know Zookeeper gives me a handful of food every day? And it's exactly enough. She must really love me." Giraffe laughed. "Well, she must really love me because I get a whole wheelbarrow of food. What do you think of that?" Elephant trumpeted out an even bigger laugh. "Well then," said Elephant, "I must be the most loved because I get an entire truckload." "Not fair," shouted Hare. "Why should you two get so much more than I?" "Not fair at all," said Giraffe to Hare. "Zookeeper must love Elephant more than us." Giraffe, Hare, and Elephant all looked at each other in silence. "But I know how to make things fair," said Giraffe. "When Zookeeper gives us food, we can pile it together and split it evenly. Then things will be fair." And that's what they did. The next day, they piled their food together and split it evenly. Each animal got the same amount. After eating about a handful of food, Hare was stuffed. He still had a large amount of food. After eating about a wheelbarrow full of food, Giraffe was stuffed, but she still had a large pile of food. But Elephant ate up all his food, and he was still hungry. He gazed at the piles of food that Hare and Giraffe still had, and wanted to ask for some, but he thought, well, fair is fair. He walked around his pen with his stomach growling. After several days, Hare became fat from eating so much, and his leftover food towered over him and took up his entire living space. Hare thought, I might get buried alive soon. Giraffe was also getting fat, and she kept tripping on piles of leftover food. Elephant was the most miserable of all. He was getting very skinny and pale, and he was always hungry and grumpy. And even though they all said, well, fair is fair, none of them was healthy or happy. Zookeeper saw how the food towered over Hare and how Giraffe's knees were badly bruised, and how Elephant had become so skinny and grumpy. So she called a meeting under the giant shade tree. "What's going on?" Zookeeper asked. Giraffe explained how they all wanted to get the same amount of food so that everything would be fair. We would want anyone to be loved more than anyone else. Is it fair for an elephant to be hungry while two of you are buried with food? Asked Zookeeper. The three animals thought about this. Hare said, "No, that doesn't seem very fair." Elephant and Giraffe agreed that it wasn't very fair at all. Zookeeper went on. Fairness isn't everything getting the same. Fairness is everyone getting what they need. She gave a great big hug to Elephant, Giraffe, and Hare. And then she gave each one just enough food, and they didn't care how much it was or how much the others received, because each one knew that they were loved. The end. The Little Red Hen by Paul Galdon. The Little Red Hen. Once upon a time, a cat and a dog and a mouse and a little red hen all lived together in a cozy little house. The cat liked to sleep all day on the soft couch. The dog liked to nap all day to the sunny back porch. And the mouse liked to snooze all day in the warm chair by the fireside. So the little red hen had to do all the housework. She cooked the meals and washed the dishes and made the beds. She swept the floor and washed the windows and mended the clothes. She raked the leaves and mowed the grass and hoed the garden. One day, when she was hoeing the garden, she found some grains of wheat. "Who will plant this wheat?" cried the little red hen. "Not I," said the cat. "Not I," said the dog. "Not I," said the mouse. "Then I will," said the little red hen. And she did. Each morning, the little red hen watered the wheat and pulled the weeds. Soon, the wheat pushed through the ground and began to grow tall. When the wheat was ripe, the little red hen asked, "Who will cut this wheat?" "Not I," said the cat. "Not I," said the dog. "Not I," said the mouse. "Then I will," said the little red hen, and she did. When the wheat was all cut, the little red hen asked, "Now, who will take this wheat to the mill to be ground into flour?" "Not I," said the cat. "Not I," said the dog. "Not I," said the mouse. "Then I will," said the little red hen, and she did. The little red hen returned from the mill carrying a small bag of fine white flour. "Who will make a cake from this fine white flour?" asked the little red hen. "Not I," said the cat. "Not I," said the dog. "Not I," said the mouse. "Then I will," said the little red hen. And she did. She gathered sticks and made a fire in the stove. Then she took milk and sugar and eggs and butter and mixed them in a big bowl with a fine white flour. When the oven was hot, she poured the cake batter into a shining pan and put it in the oven. Soon, a delicious smell filled the cozy little house. The cat got up from the soft couch and strolled into the kitchen. The dog got up from the sunny back porch and came into the kitchen. The mouse jumped down from his warm chair and scampered into the kitchen. The little red hen was just taking a beautiful cake out of the oven. "Who will eat this cake?" asked the little red hen. "I will," said the cat. "I will," cried the dog. "I will," cried the mouse. But the little red hen said, "All by myself. I planted the wheat, I tended the wheat, I cut the wheat, I took the wheat to the mill to be ground into flour. All by myself. I gathered the sticks, I built the fire, I mixed the cake, and all by myself. I'm going to eat." And so she did, to the very last crumb. After that, whenever there was work to be done, the little red hen had 3 very eager helpers. The end.